Hi. Let's begin with even and odd numbers. In the previous session, we have seen positives and negative numbers. So first we'll get on with even number. What is even number? We all know something like 2, 4, 6, right? So we know that 2, 4, 6, all of these are even integers. But the definition is any integer that is divisible by 2. That means if any number, let's say capital N, if you divide by 2, if you get an integer, right? Divisible means you get you basically don't get a remainder. So you know that N is even, or it's just a multiple of 2. So when we say 2 is an even number, -2 is also even, 4, -4, and so on. Now important over here is that 0 is also an integer, because by the definition, if we go, any integer that is divisible by 2, let's say 0, I divide by 2, what do I get? I get 0, which is an integer. Okay, as we have discussed in the previous video, that 0 is even, 0 is neither positive or negative. So that is where I told you that we'll discuss in the even. So this is why the 0 is an even integer. So this is important from the perspective of exam. Now, how do we denote any even number? So any even number can be denoted by 2n, where n belongs to any integer. Okay, so let's say n I can take as any integer. Take what are integers we have seen? 0 plus minus 1 plus minus 2 and so on, right? Plug in any value of small n and you multiply with a 2, you get an even number for sure. So this is important for higher level questions or for substitutions. Any of these type of questions, substituting even or odd as 2n and 2n plus or minus 1, as we can see here, it might come handy. Now everything else is odd, so the definition goes like this, that something which is not divisible. For example, if I divide 3 by 2, I get a remainder 1, right? It's not divisible, right? So that's how there's a mistake here. So 0 is not included, right? So 1, 3, 5, -1, -3, -5, all these are odd numbers. Okay, make a note of this. And any even number, if you add or subtract 1 from it, let's say 2 plus 1 and -1, so you get an odd number for sure, right? We all know that consecutive integers are odd, even, so on. So we know that 2n is an even number or even integer. So you subtract 1 or add 1, you get an odd number for sure. So this is important. Okay, the properties of even and odd, most of you would be knowing this already. Let's say we'll take some even number as 4 and odd number as 3. Okay, so let us see even plus even. So 4 plus 4 is even. Similarly, 4, you subtract 4, you get 0, which is also even. Same happens for odd. Odd plus odd is even. Odd minus odd is also even. Now even plus odd or even minus odd is both odd. Similarly, odd plus even or odd minus even, -1 is also odd. So these are self-explanatory, but knowing this is important, right? In the exam, you will not have so much time to get to all this derivation. So it's better to have some sort of idea, right? So same goes for this, even into even, definitely even. So even if you have one even number in the multiple, you should get even for sure, right? Odd into even or even into odd, odd into odd. Except for this, rest everything will be even. So you'll get odd only when every multiplier is odd. Rest all cases you will get even number for sure. This is for the multiplication. Okay, you might want to take a note of this. We'll solve 2-3 questions on this. First one is if A and B are integers. Okay, so all of these are important. Whenever you're reading a question, make sure that whether it's an integer or not, negative or positive, zero or non-zero, all of these are important. And 4a plus 5b is odd. Okay, now we know that in 4a and 5b, this is always going to be even. So this is the first thing that we have to understand. Because there's a 4 multiple, irrespective of a being any integer, you will always get this as even. Now the question says that this is odd. Okay, now we have a scenario where even plus something is odd. Now this is where having prior knowledge will help you come to the decision faster. We know that this has to be odd for sure. Even plus odd, 4 plus 3 is 7. So this has to be odd. That means 5b is odd. Now 5 is odd anyway, so what can we deduct? That b itself also has to be an odd integer. B has to be an odd integer. Now what about a? We know that 4a is always even. Now does a have to be even or odd? A can be anything, right? Irrespective of a being odd or even, 4a is always even, so there is no condition on a. So a can be even or odd, and b has to be odd only. So this is what we understand from the question. First part of the question. Now the question is asking which of the following must. So this is important. Must means it should be odd for all values of a and b. Now option A, let us see. A we know that is even or odd plus odd. Is it always odd? No. When A is odd, odd plus odd we know is even. Can be, must be, it's not true. Now the same even or odd, you subtract odd. Same, we know that odd minus odd is even, but even minus odd is odd. Okay, so this can be even or odd. Now 2a plus b. Now this is interesting. What is 2a? 2a is always even. The same way that 4a is even, 2a is always even. Plus b we know is always odd. Now we know that even plus odd is odd, so this has to be our answer. You can always check the other two options while practice, but in the exam you need not do so unless you have plenty of time. So we'll check the other two options. Now D says a plus 2b, right? A is even or odd plus 2 times b. Now 2 times odd is always even. Now the same dilemma, it can be even plus even is even, odd plus even is odd, so this is again eliminated. 3a, now 3 times even or odd plus 4 times odd is even, right? Again 3 times even is even plus even is even, 3 times odd is odd, and odd plus even is odd. So here, so leaving out C, every other option, there are two possibilities, either even or odd. So I hope this is clear. Now, next question. If P and Q are odd and even integers respectively. Okay, which of the following is not? Okay, so the best way for this type of questions is that you assume some values, right? P they're saying is odd for sure, so let's take P as 5. Q is even, so I take either 2 or 4, anything. Now this is easy for me to substitute and check. I can go by the definition that odd is 2n plus 1, 2n minus 1, or even is 2n, but I prefer this. So when I substitute, I need to check which one is not an even integer. So I'm looking for an odd integer, right? 5 times 5, negative 2. So it is 25 minus 2 is 23. So this seems to be the right answer, but I'll check other ones. 5p multiplied by q. So we know this is even for sure. When you multiply and with an even number, the entire value is going to be even. Now 2p, 2 into 5 again is an even value, plus 2 square, even value, right? Even plus even is going to be even for sure, we have seen. Okay, 5 times q, 5 times 2, right? Negative 2 times p, p is 5. So I get 0, which is even. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky. I'm sure some of you would have noticed or taken this 5q as 5p, right? So it's important in the exam that you kind of be aware, more aware. This is how the exam is going to give some traps, right? Now 8p, so 8 times 5 subtract 2 times q. So this is even and this is even, even minus even, we get even. So there's only one option which gives odd, so it is not even, so the answer is A. Make sure you all note these questions. So this is for your reference basically, right? Make a note of all of this. Okay. Explain the following as even, odd, or neither. So you just mark them as even, odd, or neither, right? Even, odd, or neither. So A is 28 divided by 2. So this is 14. So yes, this is even. B is 1.8. Now this is very important. Remember that for a number to be even or odd, it has to be an integer. It has to be integer first. So this is not an integer. So irrespective of whatever is the last digit, it's always going to be neither. Remember, even and odd are integers first, okay? Then you bifurcate. If it's not an integer, then it's neither even nor odd. Okay, C is negative 27 upon 3. This is negative 9. So 9 is odd, positive or negative doesn't matter. So C is odd. D, we have seen that this is neither. A decimal value or decimal number is always neither. Okay, 2.8 and 3.2, if I add, I get 10, 1 carries, so I get 6, 6.0, which is 6, right? So this is even. And finally, 6.3 minus 7.3, which is negative 1. So this again is a odd integer. Now, when you have decimals, make sure you kind of simplify first and then decide whether it's even, odd, or negative. So I hope the concept of even, odd, and neither is clear. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.